The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're going to take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is the Steve Austin Show. Unleashed. Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. Sitting here at my rental crib at 317 Gimmick Street. And today it's the second part of my conversation with the one and only Rip Rogers, a guy who knows a shitload about the business of pro wrestling. We're still talking the business of pro wrestling. We're going to talk about high spots, learning how to throw a good working punch, and Rip's got some great stories. I always like when the guys tell stories about doing the caravan tours over in Germany, booking the Puerto Rico territory. And we also talk about working with Billy Robinson. He also has a couple more stories to tell about Macho Man Randy Savage. So Rip Rogers, part 2, is coming up after I get through shooting the breeze and talking about all the bullshit that's going on over here. Well, I just got back from visiting 316 Gimmick Street, my house, and it's being remodeled, and things are moving along. The painters come in there and primed up the walls. They got one of the doors in, the big-ass 3, sliding panel doors in. They got 2 more to put in. That's going well. The exterior hardware to those doors is not on the doors, so I don't know if that means we got to ship those sumbitches back. Someone's going to bring them to us. They're going to install them, but somebody forgot to order the goddamn controls for the outside of the door. So if I'm outside and I want to come inside, how the fuck am I going to get inside? If there ain't no door handle to turn or latch or whatever the hell it is, it ain't on the back side of the door. So I'll find it dandy if I'm on the inside looking to go outside and shut the door, lock everything up. But if I'm outside, I'm fucked. Now, on one hand, that would be great. It would be hard for criminals, burglars, and trespassers to break in. But on that other hand, it ain't worth the flying shit if I've got a load of steaks and shit and I'm trying to barbecue and I'm trying to get back in my crib and I can't because there ain't no fucking door handle. Well, I'm hoping my contractor can get this shit figured out because waiting on those door frames, the doors were in about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've been waiting on the goddamn door frames to come in. So finally, the door frames come in, all of a sudden put everything on. Ain't got no handle on the outside of the door. If there's one thing I've learned in the process of remodeling, and yes, once again, this is my first remodel in my 52 years of existence on planet Earth, is that you can expect anything and everything, positive and negative, to happen. You're going to get lucky on some things, and you're going to get fucked on the others. So you might as well be ready for a little bit of both. I've been getting fucked on a lot of stuff, so I'm about ready for all the shit to just kind of ease out, good times to happen, put my house back together. I can unload my pod, put my shit back in, and start living in my goddamn house again. Other than that, shit, I can't complain much. Man, I've been spending the last few days up around the Beverly Hills area. Beverly Hills, California. Where I've been going is about 9 miles from the crib. 9 miles ain't much. But when you're driving in Los Angeles, 9 miles can turn into about 45 minutes to an hour real quick. On a good day, you can make it 9 miles in about 20 minutes. It all depends where you're going. When I'm in Texas, you always talk about, hey man, how many miles is it to wherever you're going? In Los Angeles, it's how many minutes or how many hours. And goddamn, when rush hour hits, and sometimes at the most fucked up times during the day, it's going to take you a long time to go 9 miles. And it seems like every time I'd go to Beverly Hills, for some reason, no matter what time it was, it always seemed like rush hour. And I'm thinking, I don't have a normal job. I never have had a normal job. When I was going to college, I was working on a freight dock. Then I got in the business of pro wrestling. So prior to working on the freight dock, I had summer jobs. Hauling hay, working construction, working for the highway department. So I just wonder, what the fuck everybody's doing driving around the streets if they're supposed to be at work? I don't get it. There's just too much traffic in Los Angeles. That's all there is to it. And I've got to jump back on the same shit I've been saying for a long-ass time. And you probably noticed this if you've been keeping your eyes open while you've been driving. Because you shouldn't have your eyes down on your goddamn smartphone sending text messages. And that's what I've been noticing has been going on. I keep talking about it over and over and over again on the podcast, and it just seems like more and more motherfuckers are doing it. And then today, on my way back from Beverly Hills, I didn't see just one. I didn't see just two. I saw 3 automobile accidents. One was a 3-car pileup. Those motherfuckers, you should have seen it. 3 cars, 2 cars in a van. Fucking ambulance was there. The damn sirens was blazing. And I guarantee you, somebody had their head up their ass. Somebody was sending a text message. It's just like nobody pays attention to shit anymore. I was trying to go home to Marina Del Rey, and the motherfucker in front of me, all over his cell phone, weaving from side to side in his goddamn lane. Come time for the green light to come on, just sit there because he's had his head down in his phone, so I had to lay on my goddamn arm. Not just one of those polite I laid on that fucking horn and, hey, motherfucker, wake the fuck up. I got somewhere to goddamn go. You might not have shit to do. You might be lollygagging and pussyfooting around, but I got a life to live, and there's a couple of things that I'd like to get expedited, done ASAP, as soon as possible. So get your fucking face out of your phone, mash down on the gas pedal, and get the fuck out of the way. Back it off a little bit. Got up to about 7,000 RPMs. I'm coasting again at 1,000 RPMs. Everything's good now. Breathe deeply. Count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anyway, I didn't get into any road rage or anything like that, but it's like, goddamn. I mean, y'all look around. Are you one of those people that's driving your car down the road and you all texting and doing shit like that? Everybody's texting. You look at the shotgun passengers. Everybody. No one has a normal conversation anymore these days. Everybody's damn caught up into catching up and to seeing what the fuck's going on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or text messages is just it's out of this world. It's fucking unbelievable. Anyway, I always talk about this shit. I thought I'd throw it out there one more time. I'm about sick of it. I had someone send me an email a while back, and someone had invented this technology for a phone, or a particular phone, that would not work while the vehicle was in motion. They was actually asking for some, like a fundraiser or something like that. Anyway, I didn't send any money to the summit, but it's a goddamn good idea. I understand you got to have some GPS functions and shit like that, but I think I ought to shut them goddamn phones down from being able to talk. Well, not talk, but text. I don't know how you do that, but it sure would be good because there's too many sumbitches. And you got to understand, some people try to sneak that look. And it's like, man, when you're riding right off the back of someone's ass and it's like, 15, 20 mile per hour traffic, that's slow. Even down to 10. And all of a sudden, you kind of that one car length back. One car length for every 10 miles an hour, give or take. And all of a sudden, you look down at your phone, and that motherfucker, there's a stop in front of you, or there's a traffic discombobulation. They hit their brakes, and all of a sudden, boom, you're on that motherfucker's ass. It happens that quick. And the faster you're going, the faster it happens. You try to sneak a peek at that fucking phone, and disaster happens. ASAP. Stop texting and driving. Motherfucker. PSA announcement. Got that shit from Adam Carolla. Here's a PSA announcement for you. Hey, motherfuckers, if you're driving your cars and your trucks and your shit like that, whether you're commuting to work, from work, or just taking your family on a vacation, stay off the goddamn phone if you value your life, your family's life, and everybody's life around you. You're hearing it from good old Steve Austin. Keep your fucking eyes on the road and have your hands-free device, whether it's Bluetooth or a wired headset like I wear for my iPhone, stuck in your ears, and you can talk. But don't text, motherfuckers. Fuck. Is that simple enough to understand? I'm done with the public service announcement. To all you motherfuckers out there texting and driving, go fuck yourselves. Anyway, fuck. Rip Rogers is coming up with more pro wrestling psychology tips and knowledge, and it's just in time for WrestleMania because I'm watching what the fuck's going on Road to WrestleMania, right? Everybody is. Watching Royal Rumble, Road to WrestleMania. Shit, I watched Raw, I watched SmackDown. I'm watching good shit. Man, I tell you what, I saw Mickey James throw a hell of a goddamn spin kick. Who'd you hit, Alexa Bliss? And goddamn, that's a sweet-ass spin kick. Holy smokes. Anyway, they're setting up all the angles. I'm watching all this shit going on, watching what the women on Raw are doing, the women on SmackDown, all the guys on each crew, seeing what they're doing. Love that promo that The Miz and Maurice cut the other day. I just couldn't take it anymore, is what The Miz said. And then Maurice goes over and does a mic drop. God damn, that was some good shit. Anyway, they're cranking it up. WrestleMania is coming up on, what is it, April 2nd down in Orlando, Florida? It's a good time to be watching the business to see what they're doing, setting the chess pieces on the table, head into that final event. Hopefully it's a goddamn good card. Hopefully it's a goddamn good show. But I'm watching all this shit and taking notes, and I'm having a good time. But anyway, speaking of WWE's biggest event of the year, you only got a couple weeks left to get in on Loot Crate's latest WWE Slam Crate. Loot Crate teamed up with WWE to create the greatest tag team in crate history. And this month's crate is the Road to WrestleMania. Same shit I've been talking about, and is ready to order now. And this one celebrates the superstars who live, eat, breathe, and sleep the WrestleMania journey, because you have to. And I'm not just talking about the stars who will be in the squared circle on April 2nd in Orlando, Florida. I'm talking about past WrestleMania stars, too. And that's why this crate is loaded with exclusive items featuring The Rock, Seth Rollins, Charlotte, and many other WWE superstars. There's also an authentic T-shirt that you can't get anywhere else. So sign up at lootcrate.com/unleashed and use the promo code UNLEASHED at checkout to get $3 off your Road to WrestleMania Slam Crate now. That's LOOT crate.com/unleashed and use the promo code UNLEASHED to save $3. But do it now, because once that March 19th deadline passes, so does your chance to get this crate. Order now at lootcrate.com/unleashed. And that's the bottom line, because I said so. Hey, y'all know how much I appreciate you listening to this podcast twice a week, and that's why we've created a new automated email system. Make sure you never, ever miss a single episode. Just go to PodcastOne.com/Steve Austin and sign up. We'll let you know exactly when a new show is out and who the guest is. So sign up now at PodcastOne.com/Steve Austin. That's PodcastOne.com/Steve Austin.
So far in 2017, Forbes and Podcast One have already launched 3 highly acclaimed shows. The Interview with Steve Bertoni features the business world's most interesting names, like Adam Carolla, Twitter founder Sean Rad, and Hollywood's own Jessica Alba.
So I spent a lot of my childhood in hospital beds.
Under 30 with Steve Goldblum talks to the movers and shakers, like Nation Builder CEO Jim Gilliam and NFL big game winner Martellus Bennett.
Guys are afraid to be themselves because of their marketing deals.
And The List with Art of Charms Jordan Harbinger.
We'll get behind-the-scenes insight and information that doesn't make the print cut.
Next up, Sports Money with Mike Ozanian talking to team owners, athletes, and industry leaders about the enterprise and money behind supreme athletic competition. Forbes on Podcast One. Not just entertaining, informative. Subscribe now at iTunes, and don't forget to rate, review, and share. Steve Austin, Unleashed.
Hey, let's talk about your Twitter account a little bit, @Hustler2754. I just pulled off some of the tweets that you've been sending out. You said, reaction does not mean you're over. When you're over, they put you in the main event and you draw. So let's talk about reactions and being over.
Okay, now this was a rib I did. Now, Ernie Ladd was my booker in Louisiana, and he'd be in the back playing Pac-Man. So he'd go, Rogers, I listened to your match. It was exquisite tonight. I just listened to it, and the place was going bananas. I said, Ernie, I pulled every shortcut thing as a rib because I knew you was back here playing Pac-Man. I might as well pulled my fucking dick out, gapped my fucking head or whatever. I said, that was nothing but shortcuts, and I'm back here, and I ain't broke a goddamn sweat. So you should have been watching my goddamn match, and you've been bollocking me. But as far as drawing, when you were hot, WWF came to Louisville within a matter of hours. They couldn't sell any more tickets, so they're gone. And I remember just saying, holy shit, you know what I mean? So when you're hot, you know what I mean? And then seems like now they can't draw a house anywhere. But, you know they're overexposed. They've seen the same old shit, blah, blah, blah. And, you know how cyclable wrestling is and stuff like that. So,
yeah, but I think
as long as they're making the profit, that's all right.
Yeah, it is cyclical, but I think just the core from what I'm getting out of that, to me, is like, you know, someone will go out there and you can get a pop or a decent pop, and it's cool. I mean, it's a response. It's a reaction to you coming out. But, you know, just because, you know, you're getting, you know, it depends on what kind of reaction you're getting, it doesn't necessarily mean you're over, okay? It could mean they like you okay, or they don't hate you, they're not stoning you, you're not in Puerto Rico, not throwing spark plugs at you. You know, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're over. I think some people have a false perception that they're over, but just based on the reaction. Hey, and unless you're just lighting this motherfucker up and tickets flying out of the ticket counter, that's a whole different ballgame. But, you know, to me, if someone goes out there and gets a pop, you don't just say, "Oh yeah, he's over." It don't work like that. I mean, it's a step. It's a step to the process, but a reaction don't mean you're full blown over.
Right. If you're over, you've got great business in the arena. If you're over, the pay-per-views are out the ass and the television ratings are up. If you're not over, they're all down. Right now, nobody's over.
Right. All right, Rip, you said this. Appreciate the grind. You don't become a real doctor overnight. Same with being a real pro wrestler. Embrace the grind.
Just think how hard it is to be a doctor. All those hours of college, medical school, internship, now you're a rookie doctor. And I don't want that young son of a bitch operating on my knee. I want that old fucker that's done 70,000 knee operations. Even though his hands can't do it, he can have them glasses on, he can see, and he can still lead you with that young, firm hand. But I want that old guy taking care of me. Now, I don't want no young guy, because this other guy has had how many knee operations. He's had all this failure, and he's known how to overcome it. And wrestling's the same way. You need, it's like in the territory days, you could have 340 matches in a year with no big deal.
Yeah.
Got the big indie stars are trying to get 8 in a month. You know what I mean? Against more indie guys. So how can they get pushed to get better? So when I started, I'm in my 20s, and I'm working with 40 years old every night, and they're showing me how to do this shit, how to survive, how to make it easier, how to protect each other. If my legs hurt, what's he do? If his shoulders hurt, what do I do? So I know how to protect every body part without trying to make it look that way.
Talk to me about this one, Rip. Play to your strengths, not your weaknesses, or make your weaknesses your strengths. Either way, it's on you, nobody else.
That's right. Now, if you can't throw a punch, be the world's greatest practicer of punches and get a great punch on your own, or learn other strikes, headbutts, rakes, chops, elbows, forearms, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? And as far as your stuff in the ring, have you ever come off the top rope?
A few times I did.
Okay, and I did a knee drop off the top once, and I said, I'm never doing this again. That one only took me one time to figure that one out. So if you learn 6, 7 things to do well, just do them, and that's it. And people will buy that because it's fucking solid. You're not trying to be the master of 1,000 holds. You're not Dean Malenko. You're not Dory Funk Jr. or Jack Briscoe. You're solid. You're a solid performer with nothing but goddamn basics. But the thing is, they believe in you. They believe in your character. Yours is a contest. You're out there with goddamn emotion. You're ready to kick somebody's goddamn ass, and they believe in it.
What would you tell your guys or your girls down there at OVW how to practice their working punch? Because I've heard different people use different methods. What were yours?
Well, throwing a punch is the hardest thing to do that there is in a wrestling business. And the taller you are, the harder it is. So when you got those long arms, and I grew up with Memphis wrestling, and I didn't really like it because they threw too many punches. Hell, there might be 60 punches in a match, it would seem like. But there wouldn't be a mark on the guy. So I said, no, one jab sequence and one nice big right as a heel, Then when the baby face can retribute later on, he can do same, or as a baby, he can do it to the heel later on. Because I remember one night Buddy Landell said, "Oh, he punched me so many times in the corner." I said, "Buddy, there's not a goddamn mark on you. Why would you do that?" I said, "You can do the goddamn rhythm thing and whatever and get him counting with this and that, but the punching thing, Jesus Christ." I said, and then you walk out there, and now here I am still protecting the business like I'm a mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no matter what, I do phony wrestling. I just try to make it not as phony. But the ways of practicing, but it is so hard to do, and most of the guys can't do it. They're too lazy to do it, and it's just so hard. And most of them don't have enough willpower and gumption to get out there and practice it.
But I've heard some guys practice on a door, the corner of a door jam. Some of them hang pie plates. What would you tell your guys to do if they don't have an actual person that they could practice with?
Okay, we got a shower curtain, and we got a towel hanging off the towel rack. Or we got the curtain and the towel rack is Danny Davis. He practiced on the nail. So you learn to measure very quickly with that.
Yeah. Okay, you said WWE is not looking for a copy of HBK, Taker, Jake, Stone Cold, The Rock, Savage, Hogan, Piper, etc. They're looking for new stars and new gimmicks.
Yeah, that says it all right there. Nobody, you guys didn't copy anybody. You guys were originals. So let's tweak something else and figure something else out. Because then again, you're just looked upon as a Stone Cold reject, a fucking Hogan reject, a Savage reject, a Piper reject, or whatever. Be something fresh. Be something new. You're still wrestling, and there ain't going to be another Dusty Rhodes.
Nope.
But you can go out there and create your own character and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's real short-sighted when someone says, "Hey, man, who's going to be the new Shawn Michaels?" You know, with respect to, I think he's one of the best performers in the ring I ever saw. Who's going to be the next Undertaker? Jesus Christ! And to your point, that gimmick and him are like, you know, peanut butter and jelly. I don't know if anybody could have taken that gimmick and made it into what they did. And then Jake or Stone Cold or The Rock, say anybody, you know, those people. I hate when people say, "Oh yeah, when is it going to be?" Okay, let's talk about who's going to be the next Cena. You know, I love John Cena. They're not looking for the next John Cena. They're looking for the next whoever it is. Not like when I got out, they were looking for who's going to be the next Stone Cold. No, you're not looking for the next Stone Cold. Don't put everybody in a box. Just look for whatever the next good thing is or the next great guy and gravitate towards them. I don't want them to, if they were inspired by 10% of my work or some of The Rock's or some of Sean's or some of Buddy Rogers or anybody, but they're going to be a unique entity in and of themselves. The next draw, whatever. But I just hate to see people boxed in and get labeled as who's going to be the next so-and-so. Just go out there and let the chips fall where they do and try to be you know, the best you can be.
Mm-hmm. You know what's so funny is like when I'm breaking into business and in my mind, I did nothing original, and you probably didn't either. We're all copying somebody of somebody we saw. It just comes off different when we do it with our style, our flair, the way, how coordinated we are, how athletic we are, or whatever. I'm doing my Jimmy Valiant this, my Dusty Rhodes that, my Dick the Bruiser this, my Fritz Von Erich Claw, whatever I'm doing, right? And I'm just imagining them as I'm doing this. As I'm a little kid or fucking adult.
Right. Here we go. On to the next one. Okay. Rip, there was a picture on your Twitter account. It was you and Billy Robinson 40 years ago in Detroit Cobo Hall working for the Sheik. I remember that building well, and I always loved working Detroit Rock City. It was a good town for me. Tell me your thoughts on Detroit working for the Sheik and the illustrious Billy Robinson, a guy that I never got a chance to meet, but god dang, I sure like watching that guy work.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I used to go there and work the old Sheik there. Now, this is when the territory was, the auto industry had sort of crashed, so he started, that place was on fire for years, but then he Sheiked it to death, you know, with the fighting outside, double juice, whatever, same old shit, no matter who the thing was, who the opponent was. But I go up and do Channel 61 TV there and then work Cobo that night. And he'd bring in all these top stars and everything because they was strictly NWA. So he held on for years, and then when I was with the Papos, he'd come in and work for us. So, because they knew the Papos and everything. But the Sheik was a Sheik. Hell, I was still scared to death of. Hell, if he was still alive, I'd still be scared of him. he was a real character. You know what I mean? He was just a real character. And I believed in them sons of bitches, no matter what. No matter what, I was a little kid. He was a Sheik. That's all there was to it.
Hey, was Billy Robinson a pretty salty guy? Would he take advantage of you in the ring or just shoot on people? I mean, with the catch wrestling and all that shoot stuff he knew?
Well, he was so talented and so good, and a lot of Americans, we weren't very good. You know what I mean? So he could do whatever he wanted to with you. You know what I mean? And some guys might go out there and roll around and just have some fun with it for a while. But if he would have done anything to me, I'd have just screamed, "I give up," right away, and that'd been the end of that.
I was going to get to a tweet later on. You said you were working with somebody, and you just started yelling, "You give up, you give up." Who was that you were working with?
Oh, Gene Anderson.
Yeah, Gene and Ole.
Yeah.
What happened on that occasion?
Well, it was just Gene fucking with me, and he really fucking clamped an arm bar on me, right?
Yeah.
On my elbow and hurting me. I'm looking at him like, is this a rib or what? And he's just fucking laughing and snarling, ha, ha, ha. I said, okay. Ronnie West is the referee. I said, Ronnie, I give up. He says, what? I said, I give up. I start screaming, I give up. He dropped that subbitch so fucking fast. Oh, he said, tag me in there. I said, oh, you want me to beat the... He says, don't do nothing to Gene. He might have a fucking heart attack. And I said, I know, but why is he being such an asshole? That means he likes you. Well, fuck, I want him not to like me then. He's hurting me. I said, oh, you know I don't know how to fight. What the hell's the matter with you?
What was your deal if a guy was being too snug with you, Rip?
Well, when I was young, I didn't know if he was anyway. I just thought he was a shit. You know what I mean? and then as he got older, if he hit me hard, the first one was a accident. He hit me hard again. I said, okay, it's 2-0, so that I would make it 3-2.
Yeah.
And I said, now I can hit you just as hard as you can hit me, but you're not going to blow me up, and I am going to blow you up. So it's all up to you. But I am not a fighter. I am a lover, or used to be, whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm in there strictly for performance to get whatever we can out of this without breaking a sweat and not getting hurt.
When you talk about not blowing up, did you do anything on top of the wrestling and hours spent in the ring to build up your cardio?
Man, I did. In the dressing room, hell, I did squats and lunges every night. I was doing knee pull-ins and all that. And then I'm usually a rubber hose and then push-ups between chairs or push-ups, you know what I mean? I was just a nut because I was a fat little kid. And then no matter if I was shredded or whatever, I always saw myself as a fat little kid. Because I'd look in the mirror and see a big old fat ass and love handles and no fucking chest. You know what I mean? Because that's I didn't understand nutrition. I didn't understand working out. And then when I finally started getting it, and it's just the way it is. So if you was a skinny kid, you could be looking like Mr. Universe, and you're still looking at yourself in the mirror as a skinny little kid, even though you look fucking great.
I get you, man. I get you. But when you got all shredded up, there was no doubt you had great genetics.
Well, if I had great genetics, I could have ate all that shit food when I was young, but I'd have looked half decent. You know how some people are.
You put it that way, but when you dieted down and got yourself in shape, there was a good physique there, a real good physique. Were you a health nut going through the business? Did you ever party any, hang out with the drinkers, get into drugs at all?
I probably drank 3 beers in my life, maybe, and I couldn't stand the taste. And I probably put 2 puffs of marijuana in my mouth. I said, "This is stupid," and it made me sick. And cigarettes were the same way. Cigars were the same way. Now, if you give me some free pain pills, I would take those. But cocaine, never in my life.
Yeah.
No, it was just strictly the free pain pills that if I could get those. And then, because when I was over in Germany, Regal said, "You're turning into a drug addict." I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, I taped you on I was calling on the phone, And it was like, I said, holy shit. And I just said, oh, fuck this. And I never did them again because I listened to that son bitch, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was fucking, I sounded like a fucking drug addict. Well, what it was is, Steve, I was training about 5 hours a day in Germany, right? But we live 2 minutes from the fucking building, right? What do you do all day? You can only train so much, right?
Yeah.
So now you're looking at fucking boredom. So there's one thing with wrestling where you got to make 250-mile trip every day and 250 back. We had to go out the caravan, and there was the building, right? So now it was the other spectrum. Now you're bored fucking shitless, and you can't train anymore. So now what do I do? So that's why the guys would be fucking drunk on the fucking pills or the dope or whatever. But that wasn't my thing. But it's like the bodybuilding thing. So we talked about when we saw Kevin Sullivan on Jarrett's show in the Mr. Tennessee contest. And Randy saw that, and he got me, and all of a sudden he started pushing me and him to get in contests, you know. So I got in 12 and 18 months, which is fucking impossible. That's my obsessive compulsive. So I ended up winning 2 with no steroids, and then I went fucking crazy. You know what I mean? And I took years off, and I guest posed to Puerto Rico in '89. I got one in '91 just for the hell of it, and then I said, "Oh, I'm over this shit." You know.
But weren't you living with Randy Savage at the time when you got in this bodybuilding phase and you guys were kind of competing with each other?
Oh, fuck. You know, Randy, that son bitch, whether you're playing fucking Tonk, fucking euchre, wanting to run a fucking race, that motherfucker wanted to compete with everything. Bench press, curls, no matter what it was. Then you beat me, and I was too stupid to put him over. Hell, I'd go out and beat the son of a bitch, and he'd get mad. So I was just stupid of knowing how to work somebody and put somebody, oh shit, Randy, you're the better man, you know what I mean? No, I'd go out and run him in the 40, and then I'd run backwards the last couple of yards, and he'd get mad and tackle me, you know? Threaten me, spit on me, you name it.
Hey, you mentioned how close you were with the Poffo family. Angelo, Lanny, and Randy really helped you out. You guys, man, it seems to me like you guys had a great friendship. I never really got a chance to get to know Randy. He was always in one place, and I was in a different place, except one time they came down there to WCW down in Orlando. We did a 4-minute match. I did the favors for him, didn't talk about anything, nothing special. And then I went my way, he went his way. When I watched back, after he got out of business, his promos, I mean, he's basically the Randy Savage that I saw on TV. Well, dialed down a little bit, but very, very serious, very intense. What was the guy like back then? Was he always the Macho Man, Randy Savage instead of Randy Poffo? You just see, he's probably the most intense guy that I've ever seen on video.
The only time I ever saw him out of character, he had a little dog and it died. And then he got a new dog, Backup Dog, and that was the name, Backup. But he cried for the dog. But he was always in character. He was always Macho Man Randy Savage. I'd never seen anything like it, you know what I mean? Me, I'm just goofy myself, and then I go into Rip Rogers' character when I get around the boys, or we start making a trip, or, you know what I mean, around office or something like that. But he was always that way. Well, hell, you got to remember, he was a wrestler's son, right? He was like a genius in this shit. And hell, my dad worked at the post office, and I'm getting in the wrestling business, wasn't trained, and didn't even know how much it was real, or if it was real or not. So the second generation wrestlers, they just have such a tremendous advantage of learning. And then the veterans are always helping some wrestler's kid because they like them, or it's like tradition of helping them and stuff. Whereas if you was a nobody like me, you know, it was tough. Like you had Chris Adams train you, right? Now he's a great trainer, shooter, etc. And I'm not even smart to the business and not trained, right? So look at the advantage you had, and here was goofball me. And then I'm actually training people, right? That's a hell of a rib.
Hey, you said on one of your tweets, food is overrated. I went 150 straight days on milk, orange juice, and chicken broth. Lost 63 pounds in 5 months. Be mentally strong.
That's right.
What's up with this?
Then I ate for 3 days. Then I went on another 20-day fat or 20-day thing like that. I just did it. I was heavy, and then after 3 days, Steve, you don't get hungry at all. As a matter of fact, food sort of makes you sick at your stomach. So I said, well, there's my protein, there's my carb, and I got a little chicken broth in there. And the bad part about it was after 5 months, I still had all this hard shit in me. So that just shows you what's in your intestines and everything. But once I did that, I saw almost everything it's just like when you do 5,000 free squats in a row. Everything's mental. If you can lock that mental side into anything, you can be a success on this shit, no matter what it is, because you're not going to let that son-of-a-bitch beat you. But, yeah, that was just a thing, and I did it once, and I said, no, it worked. 232, down to 169, and then I'll probably, hell, I might do it again. Who knows?
Hey, talk to me about your time in Puerto Rico. There's a picture of you. It says, me getting in the ring in this Puerto Rican brawl. Bring your own weapons.
Oh, my God. You know how they have gimmick boards and shit? In that Puerto Rican brawl, they had real boards. They would take them weightlifting belts, beat it. That's why they beat the shit out of each other. Jimmy Valiant was there, and he was running. He didn't know what the hell was happening. But they would beat you with real boards. They would hit you with this, strap you with those fucking belts. It was the most violent thing I ever been in my life in the fucking ring. I think my fucking dick was getting half hard. He was hitting me so fucking hard with that son of a bitch. I didn't even pay any extra or anything.
How did you like Puerto Rico?
Well, I loved it. It was a little bit different, and I had to learn. Let's see, two Wednesdays in a row, I closed TV, going up in the stands, going after some marks, and you had to learn that. But it was, they'd sell the bags of rocks to throw at you. They would throw all kinds of shit at you. They'd have the chicken wire, like what was the fucking Belushi Brothers movies where they would throw the thing and the beers. Yeah, but they had that chicken wire everywhere. And I did the English version television, so I had extra heat. I was getting on the greasy Puerto Ricans. So I wasn't in the top 10 list of being liked. But I had a hell of a time down there. They let me do a lot of the finishes, do what I wanted to do. And I come in, I said, hey, if you think I'm going to get fucking colored like these other motherfuckers, you can stick it up your ass. You called me. You wanted me to help with the book here. You called me from home. I didn't ask to come in here. You know what I mean? So I got color one time when I was there against Jose in a street fight. And he says, amigo, you didn't get much color. I said, I got ice white hair. I said, give me some of your blood. I put it on my head like that, and I said, good, that's it.
So what was the deal? You just weren't a fan of the blade?
No, I knew how they would abuse you. They would just, every night, Steve, every night. And I said, no, they ain't happening with fucking me, But that's why they drew. Carlos's dad hit the ring, and he almost fucking killed himself flipping over the baseball diamond by the dugout because he was trying to get somebody. And I said, your fucking dad's there. He goes, he's not smart. I said, what? He said, no, he ain't smart. That's why we draw.
So how did you get in a position to have part of the book over there, or the book in general?
Well, it's like I was sitting at home. I was getting ready to go in the Maritimes for I'd worked the Maritimes 4 different times for Emile Dupre. You get a guarantee. It's very laid back. It's like I called it America's 1950. I could train all fucking day. I knew all the fucking towns and everything, so I was getting ready to go in for him. And then they called me up and they offered me this. So I said, well, I don't really want to because in 6 weeks I'm leaving, but I'll go for you. And I said, but you got to give me so much money. And if you're $1 short, I'm leaving. I'll tell you right up front because you're asking me to come in. You're asking me to help. And I said, I ain't going to the goddamn office. If you want to do that, that's fine because I don't really want to go there, But that was it. So that's like when I went in for Bob Geigel. And I started laughing because I had to give Nick Bockwinkel a finish, right? Because they couldn't get one. So here I am laughing, and I'm giving the great Nick Bockwinkel a finish, like shit in my pants, right? And I'm like a little kid in a fucking candy store, you know.
Did you cross paths with Eric Embry over there?
No, I knew Eric from when he worked for Don Pruitt in around Louisville, Lexington, in Kentucky. Randy had his last match in his hometown. I think it was Irvington or around there before Eric got in the car and drove all the way to Vancouver to go work for the Vancouver office. I think it was with Gene Kaniski at the time. But Eric was a little heat-getting son of a bitch. That motherfucker knew how to work. He knew how to get fucking heat. He could make those people hate him. He was good.
He was good. He was on the podcast a couple of times and had some great stories from Puerto Rico. But hell, I just remember him from down there when I just first getting into the business. He had the book, and Chris was kind of writing our storylines, and so he would just approve it. But he was always really, really good to me. And you know, he was a guy that when you listen to him talk, he knows his shit in and out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about some referees. It was always great to have a fantastic ref like Ronnie West, Nick Patrick, or Fonzie in your match.
God.
You knew they would help if need be. I love talking about them good referees.
Yeah, so I tell everybody, I said, a great ref could save a shitty match, and a bad ref can kill a great match. So, you know, they're always putting people in as referees, and they're not ready to be in there. And you got guys like Ronnie West, or Fonzie was good like that.
Yep.
Nick Patrick was good like that. They could lead you, you know what I mean? And if you got stuck, they could help you. And a lot of it was just ex-workers themselves that had worked for 20 years and then became referees or whatever. But these guys, A, they know the business inside and out, and B, while we were lucky to work one show a night, hell, they might be having 6 matches that night at the show. They might have them all, right? So look at the experience they got of getting in that ring, of seeing everything, learning all these angles, seeing everybody's fucking style, seeing how everybody calls fucking spots and everything. And that ref, the ref is the most important part of any show. That's all you can say about it.
You know, and Nick Patrick was Jody Hamilton's son, a part of the Assassins, a hellacious tag team. So, I mean, obviously he was second generation. Whatever happened to Nick Patrick?
I don't know. I guess he was still there at WCW, and then I have no idea what for sure. But him and Regal and Max Payne, they all played that music with the Armstrongs. Remember that?
Yeah.
When they had the band thing and was making an album or something like that, because I'd go stay at their house a lot of times when I'd come in for TV, and. But I don't know what Nick's doing. But
yeah, when I got fired out of there, I left, and you know, fuck, he was still a young man at the time. Obviously, that's been 20-some-odd years, but hell, I never knew what happened to him. But here's one I had to ask you. There was a picture there on your Twitter account in Nashville in 1978. I got to drive Andre the Giant around in a van with mattresses in the back because he was too big for seats. Drink and fart. Talk to me about riding around with the great Andre the Giant.
Well, I'm just a fucking mark, right? And I'm like, yeah, you got to drive. Hey, Disco, you got to drive the Giant around. Okay, Nick. So there he was, this big old empty van with no seats in it and 2 big mattresses, right? And they had all this beer in there for him. And all he did was drink fucking beer and rip these fucking farts. So I wait till he's fucking looped, and I get on to talk about that big head, that big hands, that big feet. And then as I'm getting out of the van, I said, and no dick. As I'm running, right?
What was it like riding him around? Was he friendly with you?
Well, he's observing you, right? He wants to see if you're an asshole, if you're a prick, if you're a total fucking mark like I was, or whatever. And then he just fuck with you. Just little things. You know what I mean? Hey, boss, don't miss that turn, boss, or whatever. You know what I mean? To me, he was so larger than life, right? And I'm sitting there going, I can't believe this. I'm here driving Andre the Giant around. Holy shit. Who would believe this son of a bitch? You know what I mean? And I'm just on fucking cloud 9. Hell, I'm making 2.5 a night, you know, whether I deserve it or not.
Was Andre drawn at the time?
Oh, when he got 10% of the house. So he would come in about twice a year, and the houses would all be up, and that's all you could ask for. So he was booked through Bent Senior, and he was treated like a champion. He got the 10%. So he was just a great draw in the small towns. You know what I mean? They would turn people away in the small towns because the other places had seen him before.
Gotcha. Let's take another one from your Twitter account at Hustler2754. And it's something I see happening today with high spots. But before we get into it, let me say thanks to one of the sponsors who makes this podcast possible, and that's Blue Apron. My wife's been using Blue Apron the last couple of weeks. Y'all know that I live with the gourmet cook, and my wife loves to cook, and the kitchen is her space to be. But let me tell you, she's having a great time with Blue Apron. She loves that everything gets delivered right to our front door and that all the ingredients come in perfect proportions. She's a vegetarian and she ain't got the same recipe twice. They got a lot of options. I dig it. But you don't have to be a gourmet cook to do Blue Apron. Blue Apron makes it real easy to make home-cooked meals. Every meal comes with step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe cards and can be made in 40 minutes or less. This is idiot-proof cooking, people. Trust me, I'm telling you, this is a shoot. A few Blue Apron meals under your belt and you will be a gourmet chef. You can choose your meals each week and your delivery options. There's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. And Blue Apron uses only fresh, high-quality ingredients in all their recipes. And believe me, my wife would not be cooking up these Blue Apron meals if the ingredients weren't up to par. You can see this week's full menu options and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping at blueapron.com/unleashed. You'll love how good the food tastes and how easy it is to make home-cooked meals with Blue Aprons. Get on it. Go to blueapron.com/unleashed. That's blueapron.com/unleashed. If you're in the market for a car, then you need to check out TrueCar.com and the TrueCar app. TrueCar gives you price and information you need to feel confident about your purchase. And when you register with TrueCar, you'll see what other people in your local market pay for the car you want. From there, you can connect with a local TrueCar certified dealer and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. TrueCar shows you real pricing on actual inventory, so you see competitive pricing offered to you by TrueCar certified dealers for vehicles that are actually on their lots. TrueCar makes car buying easy, no matter if you're looking for a brand new or used vehicle. There's over 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available from TrueCar certified dealers nationwide, and there's over 13,000 TrueCar certified dealers, and over 2 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. TrueCar users save an average of over $3,000 off MSRP. So when you are ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features not available in all states.
Steve Austin. Unleashed.
Boy, here's one I see a lot of these days. Not a lot of, sometimes. You said on your Twitter account, Hustler2754, don't do an eye gouge and proceed to do a high spot. You kill your own shit. If you got a hurt leg, please fall down instead of running the ropes. The old eye gouge into a high spot, Rip. It doesn't make sense, does it? But you see it all the time.
Well, you got the greatest agents in the world, and they go over all this stuff, and they have the rules that they say is okay. And so if they say it's okay, I guess it is okay, but it would be a taboo with me. That would be the immediate bell ring if you're having a match. Bang, get out. Boys, explain to him what he just did wrong. But the business has changed, so I'm just going by my personal preference. It's like anybody. If you're a head football coach, you run the offense you run the defense you run, right? And then if you work for somebody else, then all of a sudden you're a position coach. You got to do what the other guy wants. And that's just the way it is. And as a pro, we got to be able to adapt and do whatever. So if all of a sudden they said it's okay to gouge him in the eyes, I said, boys, ladies and gentlemen, from now on, you are allowed to gouge him in the eyes if you hurt your leg. If you hurt your leg, just keep on going into that crisscross, baby, and look even stronger. So what the hell?
You said when high spots are too perfect, they look phony as hell. A spot is supposed to be reaction to your opponent. Treat it as if a contest, and it's better.
That's like a simple high spot, a simple tackle, boom. In today's high spots, all of a sudden, the guy's laying there, and instead of your weight forward, ready to pounce on him, do something offensively to him or grab him, all of a sudden you turn your back and hit the fucking ropes and he's just laying there. Why would you do that? Because it's prearranged bullshit. It's just, when you could see Terry Funk doing a high spot, it looked like reaction, whereas everybody else's high spots looked so perfect that you knew it was fucking choreographed. It was just, I want that subbitch to look like it was reaction and not a pre-planned spot. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, one of my pet peeves is just the tackle. Okay, if you're going to give a tackle and then just, you're not going to cover, you're just going to give a tackle, you're going to sell the tackle and set the story that, okay, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, you're going to be taking a lot of bumps or you're going to fall down a lot. So you can set the table like that. But in a transition, I mean, because basically a high spot is someone has control, either the heel or the baby. And so it's a counter move by the person to send that person in to get out of the predicament that they're in. So therein goes the tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag, or drop to hold, whatever. But the high spot is to get out of a hold. So I hate when a guy does the high spot. It's going to be a series, say it's 3, 4, 5 step high spot, but then there's that tackle, and that's when they sit there and they look at each other for really 3 to 5 seconds while someone gets their character in, and then proceeds to hit the rope to continue the drop down, hip reverse hip toss or whatever. And that's when it just fucking kills it for me. Both of you knock that motherfucker down. If you're going to sell being a strong man, then you're kind of living it up, or you go down for the cover. Or if it's that transition high spot, tackle, drop down, whatever it is. But you don't sit there, you ain't got to rush it, but you don't sit there and look at the cocksucker all day long to get your shit in to endorse your character. You fucking run the high spot because it's an athletic sequence of offense and defense. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just listening to you. I like that. I understand exactly what you're saying. I just can't say it as intelligent as you just did.
Well, I don't know if I said it intelligent. Sometimes I get worked up, but just those tackles where they just sit there and look at each other and then they proceed. It's like, come on, man. Why ain't the mother? You're just gonna let him lay there on his back, or you're just gonna lay on your back and look at the dude. You ain't gonna try to get up there if he's not gonna hit the ropes, or if he's gonna clothesline him.
Yeah,
shit, just stop the high spot. Fuck, if he's just gonna sit there and look at you.
I remember one night, me and Lanny Popo, we worked 30 minutes without saying a word, just to do it. And if he had a headlock, I shot him off. I dropped down early, right? I would telegraph everything, and he would counter everything. And I started laughing, because Garvin would have a 30-minute match, and he'd never say a word. He didn't do high spots. Or if you just shot him off, he would give you a tap or whatever. It was whatever was there, right?
Right.
And you'd telegraph something a little bit, and guys could get it. And he was just so good. He goes, "That was good, guys. I watched it. You didn't say a word, did you?" I said, "Nope, just like you." He said, "That was really good." But so it can be done. Because I was always trying to just do stuff a little bit different, you know what I mean? But and Garvin really did any spots except a fucking tackle. Or a tackle, and he'd slam you, or whatever.
Right.
And he was 5'7", and hell, I said, "Ronnie, I've never seen you take a bump in your life." He says, as you get older, first they teach you to bump for safety. Then as you get older, you take a bump like it's realism, which he did. He would land on his side, go to a knee, and it wasn't a flat back, or he didn't attack the mat or something. It like he got knocked on his ass. Like boxers, when they get punched, they don't take a flat back. How they would crumple and go to a knee and wibble wobble and stuff like that. So it's nice to see how your work changes as you get older. How even though you're older, your stuff just looks more. It looks more real when everybody else is doing all this athletic stuff, taking all these bumps and everything and these great bodies. But people half-ass believe in yours because it's the old thing of less is better. Is right. All it is. And that's the hardest thing in wrestling is to slow down, and less is better. And usually probably until you're 40, you're not going to get it. So I remember when I was 38, I tore my quad wrestling over in England, me and Regal. And I used to fly like a fucking nut just to do it, because I said, I'm going to do it till I can't. And then I tore my quad, and all of a sudden I'd climb that top rope to dive to the floor, and I'd say, ref, count me down, or have the baby face back away. Because I ain't jumping no more.
Yeah.
That fucking quad might, boom, my whole leg might go, right? I said, fuck that.
You said wrestling's kind of like being a quarterback. By the time you're 40, you get it. But by the time you get it, you're too old to really make the most of it.
That's it, isn't it? That's it in a fucking nutshell. Just think how athletically gifted you are at 25. Can do all this shit, all these bumps, in shape, can do everything, but you don't really understand it. Then all of a sudden you're 38, and now you understand it, but you've got a bad knee, you got a bad shoulder, your fucking hemorrhoids fucking bleeding, your fucking neck's fucked up, your fucking ear where Bobby Eaton, that cocksucker, punched me when he was 17 and busted my eardrum, and it still pops, which I remind him of every time I see him. Frisco, I'm sorry, Disky, I'm sorry. Bobby, why'd you punch me in the ear? You did that on purpose. No, I didn't. But now I started rambling again. Sorry.
No, but they go. That's half the part of it is I think guys really come into their prime in their mid-30s. I mean, these days a lot of guys get started sooner than I did. I started at 24, but man, when you get 10 years, and for the average guy, that's right at that 35 mark. You've done a heel turn, a babyface turn, probably the way the business moves so fast now. A couple of times.
Yep.
So you 10-year mark. You fucking got it. Pretty much. I mean, if you ain't got it, you never will. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, I think you really come in your prime at that 10-year mark. So for me, that was kind of 35. And then, the injuries started happening, got dropped on my head. Boom, out of the business by 38. How old were you when you got out?
Well, I was still wrestling when I was 48. I think I was 48 when I got hit. I was 48 when I got hit by that car. And at the time I was teaching, but I was teaching more hands-on, and I would demonstrate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then once that happened, now I don't get in the ring anymore at all. I pretty much can't. To go up steps and to get in that ring and stuff like that. What I'll do now is I'll say, show him what I want. You know what I mean? Those guys that I know, I'm guinea pigs with them, and they get it exactly. And I show him what I want and stuff like that. But I was still working when I was 48. But hell, Angelo was working till he's about 60. And hell, I remember when he was 58, he did sit-ups the whole hour on television on our ICW TV show.
Really?
With no practice. Yeah. He just gutted it out. When I saw that, I said, if he can do that, why in the hell can't I do that? You know what I mean? If he can, I'm just a pussy. A pussy in my body and a pussy in my goddamn brain. So then I threw them sub-bitch blinders off, and then that time with Regal, I told you about that $10 pizza bet with the squats, the push-ups, the bike, the lunges, etc., and stuff like that. And then on Cornette's TV show, I did squats the whole hour. And he called me home. He says, "Can you do them squats for an hour?" I said, "Call me back in an hour or 10, I'll tell you." So he said, "Okay." He said, "Hey, I was going to talk to you." I said, "No, I did them." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I just did them." I said, "It's all in your fucking mind, Jimmy. Jesus Christ, it's muscle memory. You know, I've done this shit for so long. I just hadn't had to push myself and just kick it in gear and then go get it." So I remember Bob Backlund did that Harvard step test in WWF years ago. I said, "Wow, that shit's hard." And he was like a machine. He was just real. He was there. He was really there. He was an athlete. He was a stud.
Hey, you said you were told you couldn't train every body part every day. So you did for 9 years.
Yeah.
What the fuck was up with that?
Well, I don't know, Steve. I'm obsessive compulsive, and I get in contests, and I needed my upper chest to look, so I just started doing extra inclines. And I said, well, hell. And then I just started training my body, and my body responded. And I said, if I wanted to, I didn't care about getting strong. I just wanted to look good. And because of that pump, you get them endorphins going in you. That's fucking one of the greatest things in goddamn life. So So I'm doing 10 sets of biceps every day, 10 sets of triceps, 20 sets of chest, 20 sets of shoulders, doing free squats every day, lunges every day, leg extension every day, bike every day, leg extension, leg curl squat, your back, you do that every day. And then it just became a way of life. And then I would change the order, change different exercises so you didn't get stale or anything like that. But it was awesome, and I love it. There's no stress to do it. It's all me against the world. I ain't competing with anybody. If I wanted to get bigger, I ate more. If I wanted to get smaller, I ate less. It's pretty simple.
God dang. Hey, let's talk about this GoFundMe that you started.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Well, I had two vehicles with about 250 to 20,000 miles on it, and my old red car, it sort of blew up. So I had to rent a car till I couldn't afford one anymore to go down to Louisville and teach. So then I got the van, but my old lady, she needs that to go to work. So I'm sort of vehicleless. So I'm kissing ass, thumbing rides or whatever, trying to get by. And in the old days, even though you were employed, you didn't make the kind of money they make today or anywhere near it. So in other words, I've been sort of fucking carless. So it's hard to get by, and me clump dragging around with the bad fucking wheel and everything, of the hips and everything. So I got a GoFundMe thing up on, I think it's called Rip Rogers Raw Deal or something.
Yep.
That was a little thing there. So I'm getting some donations coming in. Of course, it was okay the first couple of days, and it slows down. But I don't have But I'm on Stone Cold's radio show, you know. So with his 3.7 million followers, so that's hopefully that'll be a different story. But that's that. So it's like everything in life. You have your ups and downs, and you got to see what your character's made of. And even though sometimes you cut back, let's say I could be the tightest son of a bitch in the world, but if you're not making anything, it don't really matter. It's like Flair would come in, and that son of a bitch would actually buy everybody in the bar drinks and shit, right? Holy shit, you know. And then hell, I remember in 1983 I had a meal working for Watts. It was $12.99 or something like that, and that was my only meal over $10 in my life. Until a couple of months ago, I went to a couple of buffets, and I said, oh, what the fuck, right? So I said, I'm going to croak and die anyway. But I had that record for years of having that one $10 meal because Grizzly Smith made me eat because we was doing the Oklahoma City Tulsa double shot for Watt. He said, this is the only stop, so you better eat. And I was like sick all day knowing I spent that goddamn money. Oh, fuck.
I was thinking about saving money though, but because on that note, if you can save all you want, but if you ain't got nothing to spend, you can't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But it's like the promoters. I mean, they tell you, it ain't what you make, it's what you save. Well, if you ain't making nothing, it's hard to save it.
Yeah, Nick Goulas, I was making $130 a week, and I was living on $85. So it was still okay. But that's what he was talking about. I was just so stupid. I didn't really take it into account the money thing. No matter where I was working, I was going to live on basically $200 a week. All I was going to do was make the town, go to the gym. I'd wash my clothes in my room with hand washing, and stuff like that. And I didn't spend any money on anything. And that was just, I was never into possessions, and never will be. Never had a new car in my life. I just looked at it as a car or something to get me from point A. Remember, in the rest of us, you used to have a car and a phone, right?
Yep.
You always had to have a car and a phone, and nothing else really mattered. So now I lost my car. So, and I ain't in jogging shape. So anything would be given. I'd sure appreciate that.
So what's up next for you, Rip? Back at the OVW tomorrow?
Well, let's see. Whenever this airs, I'll be going. I leave at 4:30 in the morning on Saturday. So I'll leave there, and then I'll drive to my mom's. It's an hour and a half away. I'll ride the bike there for an hour, and then I'll go to OVW, and I'll work out for about 2 hours before class, and I'll drive back to Indianapolis, which is 2.5 hours, and I'll work out again for about an hour there. and then I'll have to go back on Sunday and do a repeat thing. It's tough, but that's the business I chose. I love the wrestling business. The wrestling business is pretty much families and personal life, but that's what I chose, and let the cards let them lie there. Hey, I got a bet, Steve. I wanted to put you up on. Now I train at Anytime Fitness in Indianapolis on Pendleton Pike.
Yep.
The manager is named Zach Fromm. Now, if you would give him a hell yeah to Zach Fromm, I get 2 free months at Anytime Fitness.
Zach Fromm, you son of a bitch, to Stone Cold Steve Austin, give you an old hell yeah. Down at Anytime Fitness. Take care, Rip. I'm going to come down there, stomp a mud hole in your ass, and walk it dry. And that's the bottom line, because I said so. How about that?
That's fucking beautiful. That's one of the greatest of all times right there.
Well, shit. Goddamn, Rip, it's good catching up with you.
You're the man. What can I say?
No, dude, I'm just doing a little podcast. It was good talking to you. I always enjoy talking to people about the business and watching your Twitter account, Hustler2754 Rip Rogers. If you're in the business, want to learn about the business, think you know about the business, but you have any interest in it, follow Rip's timeline. He tweets out some good shit. It's common sense stuff, some of the shit I never even thought of. A guy's been around the horn for a long time and knows what the fuck he's talking about. So I just enjoyed talking to you, Rip.
Well, Steve-O, thanks a lot. God bless you, babe.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up his podcast and ride off into the sunset. I just got a text message from my contractor. Another problem with one of them damn goddamn doors, so I got to go see what the fuck's going on. So skip the video. I got to go see what the fuck's wrong with my crib over there. Man, ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin and BrokenSkullRanch.com has all the badass shirts that I wore filming the last season of Broken Skull Challenge. We just released 8 more shirts about 2 weeks ago. Check them out over there. Some badass designs by some badass artists. And the best damn IPA on the planet is Broken Skull IPA at El Segundo Brewing Company. And you can get it at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in Cali. If you don't live here, check out InsideTheCellar.com and see if they ship to your state. And you can find everything Steve Austin related at BrokenSkullRanch.com, including the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife. And I got to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, because that's how I'm able to do this podcast for you free twice a week. And you can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page, and then click on the Steve Austin Show banner. And just a reminder that the Steve Austin Show is also a participant in the Amazon Associates Program, an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for me to earn fees by linking to Amazon.com. And you can link to Amazon at PodcastOne.com by clicking on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page. And on this Tuesday's family-friendly show, I got the second part of my conversation with Five Finger Death Punch founder Zoltan Bathory. We're going to get into his martial arts training, his monster truck racing, and the tour that Five Finger Death Punch did at military bases in the Middle East. And they do a lot for the American military, so more with Zoltan Bathory from Five Finger Death Punch on the Tuesday show. Hey, keep listening. 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve motherfucking Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.